Previously on Libel the Bible.
Rusty professes his hatred of the Islanders and their fans.
Fuck the Islanders and their fans.
God continues to dictate his laws to Moses.
No, really. Fuck the Islanders.
God wants the Israelites to treat their enemies kindly.
I'd volunteer every Islander fan for Musk's Doom Mars mission.
God lays the ground rules for Sabbaths and festivals.
Does he lay the rules for being a dirty Islanders fan?
Once again, God promises that Canaan shall belong to the Israelites.
And now, episode 20 of Libel the Bible.
What's up, everybody? Rusty doesn't care.
Nothing matters, really.
Sounds like a song. So, Russ, before we get started, man, we're recording on a Tuesday. I know you don't like to reveal our secrets, but we usually record on Sundays. So, what Judeo-Christian thing were you observing Sunday that we couldn't record?
Mother's Day.
Oh, that. Oh, yeah, that thing.
Yeah, listen, I know, like, you wouldn't know about that.
you and your Judeo-Christian hallmark values.
No need for you to celebrate Mother's Day. We can get into that one.
No. We're good. So, what's my latest critique? Stay on the mic, right? Gonna stay on the mic.
Yeah, today, the note that I gave you was definitely stay on mic. And you're immediately off mic. So the second I say that, Scott, what he did is he pulled away from the microphone. He put a glass of wine between himself and the microphone so you can listen to the pour. Because the pour, there's the pour. Apparently Scott finds that you hearing the pour is more important than you hearing anything he has to say.
Actually, it's so anything you have to say.
You know, I see. Yeah. So that's good. That's clever.
So I opened the bottle before we started, and I'm way on top of the mic now.
Oh, I just realized, there was no cork.
All right, see?
And there's no struggling with the wine.
There's no cleanup.
Your forehead's clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if I've said this enough. Fuck the Islanders.
Are we still with that?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm a little pissed off. Last episode, I talked about how the playoffs are coming up, the Stanley Cup playoffs hockey. I'm excited. You know, my kid, it's his first playoff since, like, he's really started watching hockey. So the Rangers right now, they're down 3-1 to the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first round. And, like, not just that they're down 3-1, like, they've gotten crushed, like, the last 2 games. Like, it's been embarrassing, like, losses. It hasn't been, like, you know, it hasn't been, like, exciting, like, playoff hockey. Like, we've gotten embarrassed, so I'm a little ornery.
All right,
more so than usual.
I'm gonna comment on it in a second. So it's the like first really warm day where like this room is really warm. So we open the windows, and as soon as you start talking, all I hear is the truck.
I know there's a truck behind you. What is that? Whose truck is that?
I think it's mine. Actually, it's a delivery, but don't worry about it.
Oh, it's the Stop and Shop delivery.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. That's good. I'm glad you and your wife ordered groceries while we're recording.
I don't think it was ordered while we were recording. It just happened to be delivered while we were recording.
And now the guy's screaming. Maybe we can invite him into the studio. What do you think, Scott? Yeah! Oh, we're up here!
All right, you want to stop before you...
Yeah, what about your neighbor? Your neighbor, like, turned some shit on?
Yeah, all right. We're going to have to work on a more soundproof studio.
You know, Scott... It was funny because right before this all started, you were like all happy that my only note to you was stay on mic. But now, like, this whole recording session, because of your neighborhood, is turning into a debacle.
All right, so yeah, I'm kind of glad your son's getting slapped with a bunch of Ranger losses. How about that? How about that for a comeback?
I mean, listen, I don't mind either.
It's just some humility, man.
Listen, it's not about humility. It's about suffering and pain.
Oh, yeah.
Because in order to really understand the ecstasy of like a championship, you have to have gone through like some agony and pain.
It was like us being Mets fans in like 1983.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, like seeing like horrible teams and having playoff losses. You can't just like start off with a championship.
No, like most Yankee fans did, right? It's easy to be a Yankee fan, right?
Yeah. Fuck them too. Fuck
I have no
them.
opinion.
Fuck Islander fans.
Yeah. All right. So, do we want to record anything about the Bible today?
I guess. I mean,
honestly, I'm really not feeling like a rant from you today. In the preamble here.
Yeah, I mean, we can just talk. I don't have to rant.
Really?
I mean, I could try. It's been a long time since I've had a human conversation.
So I'm wondering, since we've started this project, we're on like 3 months now? Longer than that, right? Almost like 5 months. Like maybe 6 months?
December. Since like the beginning of December, I guess.
Yeah, considering like this is like really the only time I see you is when we have these conversations, this podcast recording. So like, I don't really have much normal conversation with you anymore.
Yeah.
You know, when you first come over, like the first 10 minutes before we record, you're ranting about something. nothing to do with like that's podcast.
What was I ranting about today? I came over. I was ranting about something.
Of course you were.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Shoot, I don't know. It'll come to me, or it won't. I don't care.
Yeah.
You'll just fill it in with some other rant.
Listen.
So. All right.
At least I'm consistent. You know what to expect.
Yeah. So we're doing.
I'm not a wild card.
Yeah. We're doing Exodus 24. The blood of the covenant.
So basically, we're still at Mount Sinai. And all of the Israelites are like at the foot of the mountain, while Moses is like up in the mountain.
No, not yet.
No, he's not all the way up like at the top, but he's like at least in the foothills of the mountain because God called him up to the mountain, and he's like giving him all these instructions right now.
Right. Yeah. Now he's gonna tell him, Moses, you, Aaron, and a couple of his sons, and 70 elders are gonna come up some of the mountain, but Moses alone will come all the way up.
Right. This is the part that we're gonna get to, but like preceding that. For the past like 2 or 3 episodes, like Exodus 21, Exodus 22, Exodus 23, what God has been doing is he's been talking as thunder to Moses, laying out like the rules, right? Like if an enemy's donkey, fucks your neighbor, this is what you have to do. If a neighbor steals your wife's panties, this is what you have to do.
Wait a minute. They say they heard God speaking to Moses in thunder. What I'm thinking is, because they were far away, all they heard was the thrust of the engines,
right?
Which sounded like thunder. Yeah.
Sure, we talked about that.
God's probably talking normal to Moses because he's right up there. They're far away, so all they hear is the thunder.
Right.
They're not going to hear the whispering between God and Moses.
Yeah, God is talking to Moses, guys.
Yeah, he's definitely chatting with him.
I like when you're reasonable and rational.
Yeah.
God is talking to Moses. That's the most logical explanation. I thought we've already determined Atlanteans, Jethro the con man.
Somebody is talking to Moses.
Aliens.
Something is talking to Moses.
Superman, we discussed last episode.
All right.
Is more realistic.
Okay. Something is talking to Moses.
You think so?
The people down below that are recording these events.
Do you think like this really happened? Like, do you think this is an account of an actual experience?
I got to be honest with you.
Yeah.
When I heard this whole story like through the grapevine, not through like any real teachings.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on 1 second.
And again, you're interrupting.
You're saying that you've come into this with prior knowledge that you knew about this?
No details.
Okay.
And I thought, honestly, it was all horseshit.
Mm-hmm.
But now, as I'm reading it, there's like details in here that would make me think, who would make this shit up like this?
Right.
So I think it's based on something that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's so distorted throughout the generations, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But when they talk about the coming down on a flame and the cloud of vapor that sits there for 6 days because there was so much exhaust from the rocket and there was no wind.
Well, I mean, is it possible that when they wrote this, the people that wrote this were thinking, what would it be like for God to appear? Like, what would I see? And like they used the language of their day to describe sort of like an author of science fiction today would try to think of what will life be like 1,000 years from now, or what if aliens would appear? What would they look like, or what would it look like? You know what I mean? That's possible, no?
That is possible. But I'm going to say this: I don't think people had like time for these big imaginative ideas back then. They're either on the run from something, the run to something. They're always doing something. Like, and by the time the sun goes down, they're tired. So who's writing? Like the monks had to like sit in a tower under candlelight to do their thing, but everyday people, I don't think could have done this.
Well, I don't think everyday people wrote the book of Exodus.
Oh, who do you think wrote it?
I think rabbis wrote it.
Huh.
I think, like clergy, men of God wrote it. I think they wrote it, one, to justify worship of Yahweh, and two, to legitimize their religion in terms of geopolitical status.
Okay, when did you say we discovered that this was written? Thousands of years after, or?
So the Bible was written, so let's not say after or before a certain period of time. Let's say, so Exodus was written, let's say, about 600 to 1000 BCE.
Okay. But how long after the events that they're depicting in Exodus did that happen?
Like 1,000 years.
Okay.
Well, Exodus didn't happen. There's no recorded history of
what am I holding
the migration.
In my fucking hand?
There's no recorded history of a migration
I'm holding history
of
in my
Israelites. You're talking about the notes that you took?
No, pretend it's a Bible.
From Exodus?
Pretend it's a Bible I'm holding.
All right. Well, that's what I'm saying. So the Bible is not a history book. Like there are elements of history that occurred. You know what I mean? Like, it's sort of like reading historical fiction. If you've ever read historical fiction, what happens is you have a whole bunch of fictional characters placed into historical situations. So in this case, the historical situation, let's say, is the empire, the Egyptian empire, or the Egyptian kingdom, right? But the fiction is Moses. The fiction are the hundreds of thousands of Israelites that flee and then wander in the desert. Like, none of that really happened, historically speaking. And if it did, there's zero evidence for it. The Israelites are gathered at the base of Mount Sinai while Moses and some of his followers are up like in the foothills at the very least.
Yeah.
And they've been being given codes of conduct by God for like our last 2 or 3 episodes.
Yes.
So we are now at Exodus 24, right?
Yes.
And God is going to invite Moses along with some of the elders. He says Moses, Aaron, and a few other people he names, and then 70 elders.
Yeah.
I want you to come, quote unquote, near me. So I don't know what that means, near me, but he wants
close enough, far enough away where they can't hear what's actually being said to Moses. So now they go up there, and they gave burnt offerings.
First Moses has to go down. First Moses goes back down,
Yeah.
and that's when he tells the people like all the laws that we've been like covering over the past like however long, right? So Moses spends some time like down at the base. He builds an altar to God. He makes a sacrifice to God.
Do you think every time Moses goes down the mountain, God rings a bell and Moses is like, fuck, gotta go back up that mountain again?
I think God has been sending Moses up and down the mountain. And by the way, let's not forget how old Moses is. And by the way, let's not forget, like, he probably doesn't have like mountain climbing gear. You know what I mean?
I mean, I don't know what Mount Sinai looks like other than the logo for the hospital. Like, I don't know. Like,
It says mountain.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, it's a mountain.
Yeah, even if it's like a straight path. Like
it's got to be rocky, and he's probably wearing sandals.
Well, this keeps you in shape, man. This is why they live so long. A lot of rugged cardiovascular
A lot of exercise,
activity.
right.
Yeah. So they had to make an altar. They got to throw blood on it, and blood on people, and blood on everything. Now I didn't understand this next part.
Mm-hmm.
So they're there.
Mm-hmm.
They're on the mountain with God. It says.
Yeah.
And they see God.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought they weren't allowed to see God. But apparently they do. But there's a pavement of sapphire stone, a clear sapphire stone underneath God's feet.
Mm-hmm.
Are we talking holographic pad, transporter pad, maybe?
So this is interesting.
Teleportation pad?
I don't know. I was thinking about this. So I'm going to read the section. This is Exodus 24, verse 9. They're on the mountain with God. Then Moses and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and 70 of the elders of Israel went up, and they saw the God of Israel. Under his feet there was something like a pavement of sapphire stone, like the very heaven for clearness. God did not lay his hand on the chief men of the people of Israel. Also, they beheld God, and they ate and drank. So there's a lot to break down there. One of those things being like, under his feet there was some. First of all, what are they seeing? What are they seeing God right now?
They're saying, yes, they beheld God.
Okay. We're about to, in Exodus 25 through 29, right, go into excruciating details about nothing, right?
Yeah.
We've just read a verse where they meet God, and there is zero description of the man.
Word. Yeah. Like, how about...
You know what I'm saying? Like, we spent a page talking about the ark. It has to be this dimension, made out of this material.
And, God. Yeah.
And
Old,
they
hairy,
just met God,
fat,
and all we know is the surface that his feet were upon. We don't know, like, was he tall? Was he short? Like,
This is some sort
he
of...
has feet?
Yeah.
Are they human feet? Like, what am I supposed to imagine in my brain right now? Are they frog feet? Like, what kind of feet? Are they gazelle feet?
I don't know.
We're in his image, so I'm assuming they're male, like gross male feet. Like, is he barefoot? Is he wearing shoes?
Yeah, no details, right? Clothes? Any
Like,
clothes?
it's God. They're meeting God, and there's no detail.
Yeah, you might want to, like, jot down in some notes.
And they ate and drank. Like, it's like the most casual thing. Like, they're sitting down with God and eating and drinking with God.
Makes sense.
So, I don't know, man. I've thought about...
projector? Maybe the clear thing is a projector, some sort of projection device.
Like, it's true. Like help
why-
me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope. Could be like a hologram. Could not.
Exactly.
Maybe it's not
That's what
even
I'm
God.
saying. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's somebody, pretending to be God.
Right.
Or the Lord, or
So-
Yahweh, or WYSIWYG.
So what you're saying is going to make complete sense, especially a little bit later. Makes a lot more sense than this being the creator of everything.
Yeah. So now Moses and Joshua are summoned up the mountain to get the stone commandments. And they leave Aaron and Hur in charge. Like, any
Yes.
problems, deal with them.
So after the dinner, God tells Moses, he calls him away from everyone, tells him to come up further I can give you like these stone tablets. I'm going to give you the stone. He's going to give him the commandments.
Do you think when they, for some reason they mentioned like he did not put a hand on the elders?
Yeah.
Because maybe his hand wasn't solid because it was a hologram.
Oh,
He couldn't put his hand on anything
He
because
did not
it was not
lay
real.
his hand on the chief men
Like,
of the people.
Why would he have laid his hand? Like, why would
It's
that even
a
be
fucking
mentioned?
hologram. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
So are these aliens?
They went to
or are these time travelers?
all of the above, or any of the above. All more realistic than what the...
Or it's like Superman, like when he had like those crystal like things that he used to put in, and like he would see hologram projections of like his father, right?
Learn about trees
in
and
the
poems.
Fortress of Solitude, right? No, like I'm telling you, all these things that we came up with are more logical than actual God himself.
Like, why did God have to appear with something under his feet?
I don't know. And why at the top of the mountain, using Moses as a conduit, why not just appear to the people?
Maybe they're allergic to us. Something in our environment, so they can't really he can't just come down and greet us because he'll be exposed to, human viruses and vaccines.
Well, no, you're thinking of it like if it's not God.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I'm saying if it is God, why not just appear to everybody? You know what I mean?
So you're making an argument that this isn't God.
I'm making an argument that's supporting your theory that it's anything other than God and aliens being the leading cause right now. We're not. So just to make it clear for everyone at home, we're not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens. All right. And by the way, I'm sorry. You said God called Moses up to him, right? With who? Who did Moses go up with?
Did I say Jacob?
Well,
no, Joshua.
Yeah, in the Bible it was quote unquote his assistant Joshua, and I'm like, who the fuck is Joshua? Like they introduced Joshua like we're supposed to know who he is.
You ever heard of him before?
Is he the guy that Moses was like when they were about to battle some other tribes, he sent Joshua down and he was like, I'm going to be chilling up here on this rock away from the fray?
Yeah, I think
Is that the same one?
Yeah, I think so. His name seems familiar. There's
like
wine stains all over this book for some reason.
For some reason. Because in the Bible, like they just introduce people like we're supposed to know who they are. All right, so anyway, Moses apparently has a quote-unquote assistant, some young boy named Joshua.
And Aaron was his like
his translator,
I guess
the guy who speaks with him.
Aaron's been elevated now, like he's the second in command now because he's leaving him in charge.
Well, he's definitely important. His son's going to wind up being important, right?
But you know what he says? He goes, well, me and Joshua were up the mountain. Any disputes can be handled by Aaron and her. Like, do these people dispute shit all the time? Like, what the fuck? They're very litigious.
Litigious.
Thank you.
That's a trope and a stereotype, Scott. But I'm going to move on without giving you a chance to respond and defend yourself.
Yeah.
No, I have nothing to say. I just wanted to move on without giving you a chance.
I got you.
So his brother, God doesn't need him anymore because when God was speaking to the Pharaoh, Moses was like, I don't speak so good. So
right.
So right now, God doesn't need Aaron because God is going to give instructions to Moses.
He just has to hold the damn tablets.
Yeah, Moses doesn't have to talk. He just has to, keep his ears open and listen to what God has to say. So Moses takes his assistant and he goes to see God. Exodus 24, verse 16.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. The glory of the Lord settled on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. On the seventh day, he called to Moses out of the cloud. Now the appearance of the glory of the Lord was like a devouring fire on the top of the mountain in the sight of the people of Israel. Moses entered the cloud and went up on the mountain. Moses was on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights.
Yo. So now there's this cloud around the mountain for 6 days.
Mm-hmm.
The cloud is either the exhaust that's left over from the rockets, and there was no wind, or there was just so much. And who knows how long a day is in the Bible anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So the rocket landed. Moses gets called up.
Well, these are human days. I'm assuming like these are human days. Like there's that argument in Genesis, right, where like God creates this on the second day, third day. Well, you don't know what a day is.
Right. These
but
are human days.
At this point, I'm going to
Fair
say it's already human days.
Fair enough. So it might not have been 6 days because of recollections and all that. But
Okay.
the cloud also could have been the spaceship itself.
Because it looks like
They don't know what it looks like because it's so big.
Right.
It's like a city ship in Independence
maybe
Day.
it's like Wonder Woman's invisible jet, you know?
Yeah, it's a cloaking device. It's not a perfect cloaking device, so it looks like a cloud.
Right.
And then when Moses gets called up there,
By the way, like a cloaking device, how does it cloak the organic life inside? Like, okay, like it cloaks the ship, but wouldn't you just see like a whole bunch of like, humanoids like hovering in the sky?
I don't know how, but it just bends the light, so you're just seeing what's ever behind the object.
Oh, okay, that's fair. That's fair. Right. That's fair.
I mean, that's one form of the cloaking device that we're working on here.
Sure.
And then Moses goes up there, and then the flame comes. Was it coming down or going up? I don't care.
No, well, I don't know, but the flame, let's discuss the flame for a second, because earlier when God appeared to the elders, they saw his feet. So I'm assuming like they saw his body too. It's just for some reason they didn't describe it to us. But now he appears like a devouring fire on the top of the mountain. So earlier they saw his feet, but now he's got to like sort of hide his appearance, or not even hide. I think he's a really flamboyant like showman. Like he's always you don't think so?
Listen, he's definitely a flamboyant showman, but I think this is just straight
it's
up
a
rocketry.
description of
This is landers coming down and going up.
an aircraft.
Some sort of aircraft. And he's on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Bullshit. What the fuck are you doing up there for 40 days and 40 nights? There's nothing to do at the top of the mountain.
Forget him for a second. You and I, right? Let's say we make plans. And I'm like, yo, Scott, let's meet up at whatever bar. Let's meet up at Austin's. Cool. What time? 9. Okay. I show up at like 9. Now it's 10. Now it's 11.
It's pretty realistic.
Like at a certain point, I'm going to be like, oh, fuck, I don't think Scott's showing up, right? Okay. These people, the Israelites, have been wandering the desert now for 3.5 months. Like 4 months. Moses is their leader, right? So they haven't seen him now for at least a week and a half or 2 weeks. He's been up on the mountain for like 2 weeks talking to God, right? Like he comes down every so often.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, no, he did. He came down, remember?
Up to this point, right.
Yeah, so he's already come down. He built the altar, remember? Like, he did the sacrifices, and now God called him up again. He's already relayed the message that God wants, like, of the laws to the people. So at this point, they haven't seen him for 7 days, because he's been up on the mountain with God for 6-7 days in the cloud or whatever. And then it says he's been gone for, he's going to wind up being gone for 40 days, 40
I bet
nights.
you the cloud and the fire are gone.
After, like 20 days, 30 days, the people like at the base of the mountain, right, that are waiting, like they're just sitting around waiting for Moses to come down. At what point are they like, he might not be coming down, like we might have to keep going?
I think if they ever thought that, they might self-destruct, because it seems like they really rely on
They're
Moses
really invested in Moses, huh?
Yeah.
Because they waited for 40 days?
And Aaron and Burr are probably like, next, case number 147.2, Rusty versus the state of Israel.
There's just constant disputes going on.
What the hell?
Like, Martha says this is leavened bread, but I don't think so. So then they have to, like, exhibit A with this bread, and then they have to, like, you know what I mean? Like, what's leavened, what's not.
It's also like this. Like, okay, you wait a couple of days, and you're like, this is taking a while. Maybe we should leave. No, let's give them a little more time. It gets to the point where, you know how, in anything in life, you waited so long, it almost doesn't pay to walk away now. Like, I've got so much vested in this, I got to stay around.
Like Bitcoin.
Yes, like Bitcoin.
Yeah. All right.
So
That's fair. I get it. Now that you're talking in crypto terms, now I fully understand why they waited.
That's sad that we do that as human beings, because how many things we miss out on hoping for something a little better.
Yeah.
Hanging on to that hope that it's never going to
We should just cut ties with it.
Well, there's an old Klingon proverb. No matter how far down a wrong road you go, turn back.
No matter how far down a wrong road you go, turn back.
Right. Like
that doesn't sound Klingon at all. Klingon sounds like today's a good day to die. I'm going to keep plowing down this road.
You know what? It might not have. It might have been like a Vulcan proverb.
I got to tell you something. The Klingon culture is fucking stupid. They're stupid.
Which one? The original series, the animated series, the Discovery series, the Next Generation?
Well, the base
culture keeps changing.
The warrior culture, right? So they prize warriors above all else. And it's amazing to me that they were able to like create the technology to even like travel across like the stars, because who are like the Klingon nerds? Can you imagine how awful their youth must have been? How much they must have gotten picked on by the warrior kids? You know what I mean?
Well, there is some sort of canon to describe that where a lot of Klingon ships were like supposedly bought from the Romulans. So they might not have built their own.
But how do they know how to fix the ships? Or
they're not stupid. It's just not something they're really interested. They do it because they have to.
I would argue that like they are kind of stupid when it comes to technology.
Okay, so a couple weeks ago, it was Cardi B. Then it was the Islander fans, and now it's the Klingons. Nobody's gonna like us when you're done with this. By the way,
I mean it's a big universe. There's a lot of fucking people in it. All right. So Moses is up in the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Yeah. And God's about to get real fucking exhausting.
Oh, man. So Exodus 25 is entitled Offering for the Tabernacle.
Okay.
So now this one's pretty interesting.
Do you know what a tabernacle is?
It's kind of like one of them outdoor like tents, like revival tents, like something like that.
That's
right?
exactly what it is. It's like a traveling temple, basically.
Yeah, it's like a slideshow that comes to town. Like
Okay,
a freak show. Yeah. So he basically says, take from all that will give, which was weird. Mm-hmm. Like basically, and he makes a long list of like items they need to get.
Right, I want to preface everything that we're about to discuss right now.
Okay, yeah.
God is about to scam Moses into building him like a fucking MTV crib.
I got to think life on the space station is much nicer than like what they're about to build.
Well, let's get into it, and I'll point out why I'm saying that. All right.
Okay. So,
and not only that, by the way, but God is the biggest goddamn fucking Karen on the planet, because he is very specific about the things that he knows exactly what he wants, God, to the most minute detail.
Yeah, I'm going to cover the big items here real quick. He wants gold, silver, bronze. No problem, right?
Yeah.
Blue, purple, and
crimson yarns.
Crimson. Make sure it's crimson yarns. Fine linen, goat's hairs, tanned ram skins, fine leather, acacia wood, oil for the lamps, spices for anointing oil, fragrant incense, onyx stones, and gems.
This is the offerings for the tabernacle.
Right. So basically, this part, you're like, okay, God wants all these things.
Right.
So people give this up, and then we find out later what he wants them for, because he's going to have us start building shit out of these raw materials.
Yeah. And then he tells him to build a house for him.
Well, not yet.
Eventually. No, in that section.
No.
I'm going to look it up right now.
While he's doing that, I'm going to move on.
Go ahead.
He's it says offering for the tabernacle, but that's just the raw materials for the tabernacle. The tabernacle doesn't get built for a little while. First, he has them build the Ark of the Covenant. Mm-hmm. And it's super detailed, his instruction. Lots of gold, poles to carry it with. You got to build the mercy seat, which is another name for the cover, with the cherubim.
All right. I'm sorry. So just to make my point, offerings of the tabernacle, verse 8 and have them make me a sanctuary, so that I may dwell among them. In accordance with all that, I shall show you concerning the pattern of the tabernacle and all of its furniture, so you shall make it.
That's fine, except it doesn't give the directions to build the tabernacle for like 4 more chapters.
It's going to, right. But he's basically preparing them for the fact that, like,
dude,
you're going to build
offerings for the tabernacle.
You're going to
so
build
he's getting the raw materials for the tabernacle.
And he's saying, I'm going to live amongst you. You're building this for me. He's telling them, I'm going to live in there.
All right, but he hasn't built it yet. He hasn't given the instructions yet.
But that wasn't my point. My point was,
all right, fine. All right, we're both right.
But
you're more right. Okay?
He wants them to build a house for him.
All right, you're more right.
You said no.
No, I didn't. I said not yet.
But he just said it. He just said it.
That you're going to, not that. All right, man. You're right. You're right. All right, can we move on?
I guess we can move on.
The cherubim or the cherubim, those are
the cherubs.
Those are the fat babies with wings.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
They're fat babies with wings.
What is that? Are they angels? Like, what are they?
I don't know.
Is it like with the Nephilim or something? Nephilim?
What are angels?
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so he's going to build the ark.
I'm assuming they're not angels. I'm assuming they're like a different. They're kind of like what
baby angels.
They're like what bonobos are to chimps. So like bonobos and chimps aren't related, but they're both like in the ape family. So I'm assuming cherubs and angels aren't the same thing, but they're like in the same, whatever, genus or.
Is Cupid a cherub?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Oh, they're like pranksters. They're like little goofy imps, right? Like acting up all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which section are you on right
the
now?
Ark
The
of the
Ark of the
Covenant,
Covenant?
man.
Oh, my God.
So wait. So
you're describing what the Ark has to look like?
Yeah. I just did. We're done already.
Oh, you did that?
Yeah, it's a box. It's covered in gold.
Yeah.
It's got the top, the cover with the cherubims with their wings. It basically looks exactly how it was depicted in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I imagine this looking. And he's like, and one day I'm going to appear above the top between the fat angel babies, and I'll deliver my commandments. All right. And then he goes on to build the table for the bread of presence.
The table for the bread of the presence.
And again, have two
He's the
long
presence, right?
We don't know yet. I have to assume it is.
I mean, yeah.
And again, with the 2 poles to carry it, everything's made portable. In the best way they could.
Not just portable. Everything is like, it's like, this is like an ancestor of Trump, because everything is gold. Like, everything has to be like made out of gold, by the way.
Yeah. So, let's get back to the offerings. You know what? Let's not. I'll get back to the offerings when we're done. Okay. So they build this table. Yeah. They build the plates, the dishes, the flagons, and you're gonna put the bread.
What's a flagon?
Like you drink your meat out of. Like a mug, I think.
Okay. Wow, you've really learned going to Renaissance fairs.
Yeah, that was definitely not Sunday school knowledge. Yeah. Although they were hitting the flagons hard, I think. All right. Then he's like, after the table, build the lampstand. Now, this thing, it's just basically a thing to hold 7 candles. It was a center candle and like 6 candles with branches, and it's got to be made out of one piece gold, really nice metal work. It's got to be hammered. It's got to look like branches and leaves and all this stuff.
Yeah, no, this is what I'm saying. God is a total Karen. Like, he really has very specific requests. He's like a Greenwich housewife with like unlimited time and unlimited money on her hands, you know what I mean? And Moses is like the poor contractor that answered her fucking call.
So Bobby the contractor didn't show up today, so I was like, Betty, where did you find this guy? So even the snuffers and the trays have to be made out of pure gold.
Yeah, what's a snuffer?
I think that's the thing that you put the candle out, like with the old.
Oh, yeah. You snuff out, yeah.
And like when you thought you were cool, like when you were younger, when you had a candle set up, you bought like the little thing to put the candle out. Like, why wouldn't you just blow the candle out? Like, knock it off.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about, the little.
I know exactly.
It's like when you get the little box full of sand with a rake on it. It's supposed to be like a serenity garden, like a serenity rock garden. Fuck that. Yeah. So then we get to the tabernacle.
So that's Exodus 26. So Exodus 25 was basically the offerings for the tabernacle, the Ark of the Covenant, the table for the bread of the presence, the lampstand, and God going into excruciating detail about how to build each and every single one of these things. Like, we could have read this to you, and it goes into excruciating detail.
Not as bad as the tabernacle, though. Holy crap, dude. This is ridiculously detailed. The curtains, the drapes, the tents, the colors, the loops, the clasps, everything they're made out of, how long they are. Pole A goes into slot B, goes into tab C. I'm telling you, listen, if you get this thing delivered to your house, it's a relationship ender. You'll be in the fucking living room with all the parts out on the floor going, where the fuck is pole A? Where the fuck? This is retarded.
No, this makes like an IKEA like assembly look like, you know, someone is going to do it for you and you can just like lounge in the pool.
Yeah. This is
this is crazy. God is hard on the help.
Do you think he's the first like party planner, like to the millionaires? Like he's planning a party.
As I read this, I was trying to like figure out like, why is he so specific about what he wants, and why only Moses? Like, why can only Moses hear this and hear these instructions? Like, it seems like it's a lot of detail for one man to remember, because he's not writing any of this down.
I was just going to say this. Anybody writing this down? But he does said, and build it in accordance to what I've shown you on the mountain. So he must have shown him, like, you know why he's probably doing this? Because he bought it off the shelf. And this is the shit you get at the God store. Here it is. Here's the instructions. Put this fucking thing together. Right. But you had to come up with the materials, which is weird. By the way, this is a group of people that couldn't find enough straw to make bricks a couple episodes ago. Now they have a material to make a lot of shit.
It's kind of like people that talk about building a Dyson sphere, right? Like, it's such a cool concept.
You hang out with a lot of people that discuss this.
I mean, we just talked about how there's so many people, you know, and online especially, like in the communities that like I frequent.
Dark, dirty back alleys of the interwebs.
Yeah, the dark webs. So for anyone that doesn't know, a Dyson sphere. Scott, what's a Dyson sphere?
It is a construct basically built around a sun that's big enough. Picture about basically it's surrounding the sun in a ball. And the inner surface is far enough away from the sun where you can live. So you're in the Goldilocks zone, and you harness all the power from the sun. Basically, you enclose the sun.
So you enclose the sun
and the impossible size structure. It's unfathomable.
You enclose the sun and the earth in order to harness the energy of the sun.
No, you don't need the earth. You're living on the inner walls of the Dyson sphere.
Oh, okay. So you're going to live on the inner walls of the Dyson sphere.
Okay. You have to destroy the earth to get the raw materials to make this thing.
So that's the problem. What is ultimately the problem in building a Dyson sphere?
Resources.
Right, because you have to build something large enough. You have to basically gather more mass than is available in the solar system in order to construct the Dyson sphere.
That's why a Dyson ring is more likely.
So that was the premise for Ringworld, a book by Larry Nivens.
I didn't see it.
And even that was, you didn't see it? It's a book. You don't see it.
I never saw
you
that
read
book.
it. But you know there are such things as books, right?
But I can't read a book that I've never seen.
So there's a book
I'm
called
reading an invisible book.
Ringworld, and the ring is way too big. You know, like even if you want to say like, okay, like it's possible to gather the material to build a ring around, it was like a white dwarf star. So the star wasn't even that big. So, you know, but even still, the size of the ring was ridiculous. So the point being exactly what Scott is saying. There's simply not enough material for everything that God wants.
Wait a minute.
Where are they supposed to get all of this? They don't have bread.
Wait a minute. They plundered the Egyptians on the way out, remember? They're like, here, take our shit. Take our jewels. Take our... The Egyptians gave them a lot of shit.
Okay, Egyptians gave them a lot of shit.
God planned this.
So, okay.
So, wait. So he thought the Israelites thought, we're getting over. Wow, they're throwing all their shit at us. But you ain't going to get to keep it. God's going to make you use it for him.
Right.
Huh.
So, but here's another thing. This is the person who created everything in 6 days, 6.25 days, Why can't he just make this himself?
Dude, I'm going to blow everyone's mind right now.
Did you just have a revelation?
I did.
Is this going to go on the Revelations
on
the web?
No. It's not like that. This is bigger. This is bigger than everybody.
Oh, shit.
We might have to call the Vatican.
Okay.
Why are we thinking that the God who created the universe in 6 days is this God?
Oh, shit. It's like that Star Trek episode
The devils
with that
do,
woman.
yes. They're going off the mythology to get over. That's why they can't do shit now.
Explain, Scott. Elaborate. Tell the audience what you're thinking.
I'm thinking these aliens or people from the future or
All right,
Superman.
so let's say
or
there's a real
Atlanteans.
God that created everything in
let's say
6.25 days.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. All right. And now he leaves us alone because he's got other universes to build.
Sure.
And he gives everybody free will. They talk all that nonsense,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So God does his job, moves on. We build an entire mythology based on that. These Atlanteans, Supermen, whatever we want to call them, witches, sorcerers, find our mythology, read about our mythology, and act out our mythology. And they have sufficient technology that's indistinguishable from magic. That's why we're going to fill Egypt with frogs. Transporter chief, beam down the frogs. Yo, beam down the food
Scott,
coloring in the ocean.
Let me tell you something.
Yo,
This
give them the
is
gnats.
the most sane and rational explanation for the Bible that I've heard.
I'm not saying for the Bible. I'm just saying for what we're reading now.
All right, so for what we're reading now,
Yeah.
it is the most sane and rational explanation that I've ever heard.
Wow. Dude, I feel lighter
if
now.
for events that happen, so let's say everything we're reading really happened, what you're saying is completely reasonable.
I'm going to refer our viewers to Star Trek The Next Generation, an episode called Devil's Due. It's a similar story. So
What
I don't
season? Do you remember what season?
know if what do you think,
Season
I'm a nerd?
episode? Yes, I do think you're a nerd. Was it a later season?
It was a good season.
It sounds like a later season.
Definitely wasn't a first season.
Like 5, right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right.
Cool the shit.
The
I don't
Devil's
remember
Due.
again. Devil's Due, yeah. All right,
You
so
know what the problem, though, is?
what?
It was a good episode only because of the reveal at the end, which you've spoiled. So you're directing people to an episode, you know what I mean, by having spoiled it.
That's still good. It's still good for.
right.
I didn't spoil all of it. All of it.
So, yeah, so God wants them to build all this shit, get all the materials, as Scott was saying, and I guess, they took all that shit from the Egyptians, so they do have the material for this.
They do. Yeah, this is.
So they were all like happy, like, oh shit, look, once we reach, Canaan and establish ourselves and build homes, we're going to be able to like use all this material.
Yeah.
And now God's like, nah, I want the material.
And this is after 40 days waiting for this guy to come down off the mountain. And now he's like, I'm down from the mountain. Now I need all your shit.
Yeah. Well, he's not even down off the mountain yet. Because I know from the movie, when he comes down off the mountain, he's going to be pissed off at them.
Really?
Yeah, because they're going to
Because they're still in court, right?
Well,
Everybody's
no,
in
they're
court?
going to start like partying and like they're going to build like that golden calf.
I don't know anything about that.
Well, a golden calf is an idol.
I,
And he's already given instructions to them. Remember, he's already come down once and told them God's rules.
Yeah.
And one of those rules being no gods before me. Remember, don't like worship any other god. But he's going to be up there for 40 days and 40 nights. So it's not a surprise why they would build a golden calf.
They just can't help themselves, huh? Like, with their home goods, they got to constantly build some shit.
I mean, you would think if you saw God, you chill for more than 40 days. Yeah. Like, I've had acid trips where I've had revelations, and that lasts me like a good 30 days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I saw actual God himself, that would last me like a year at least.
Wow, really small attention spans, really. So, all right, Moses has been gone for 40 days.
Yeah.
This God's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Let's make an idol.
And think about this. He's been gone for 40 days, meaning he comes back after 40 days. You still have to build an idol. It takes time, right? Like, let's say it took 2 weeks to build like this golden, like they had to fashion gold into like a golden calf, that's got to take, what, 2-3 weeks?
And you're not Moses. If you want to build this calf, you got to convince people to give up their resources. You ever try and get neighbors to like chip in for a block party? Come on, it's impossible.
God, yeah.
How are you going to get to all these people? So you're right. So if it took them 2 weeks just to get the materials and start building it, so Moses is gone for 2 weeks and they're already looking for another god.
Not even. They were probably looking, it probably took.
These people need direction.
Yeah. So Moses has gone for a day. You know, at that point, there's one guy that's like, yo, man, let's start building a golden calf. Like, he starts planting the idea, like, early on. It takes
Russ,
a few days to, like, you know, ferment in, like, people's minds.
And one guy's like, yo, Russ, I get it. But not yet. It's too soon.
Next day, you know, come on, man, let's do this.
You know what? Let me talk to my people. Let me see.
Within, like, 5 days, they're gathering, like,
drawing
gold. Yeah, you know, right.
Which brings us to the framework. God gives them a bunch of holes and pegs and bars that have to be covered in gold to build the framework for the curtain. So what he's going to do is have them build four pillars with curtains with cherubims on it.
So he can hide behind it.
No. Well, yeah.
Well,
then he's going to make these elaborate curtains. It's going to be like what do you call them? A 4-post bed.
Yeah.
All dramatic, and that's where the
canopy.
Canopy, thank you. And that's where the ark is going to be. That's going to be the most holy space, which he has to differentiate from the space around the ark, which is just the holy space. This is the most holy. So inside the ark might be the holy of holiest holes.
Well, the 10 Commandments, right? The 10 Commandments have to go into the ark.
Well, right now he hasn't said the 10 Commandments are going in.
That's true. He hasn't said that. He's just right.
The only reason I know is the 10
But we
Commandments.
know, because everybody knows.
This is Raise the Lost Ark. I did not know that if it was not Raise the Lost Ark. I would never have known that. Even with all my
Well, you would have
teachings.
known it now because you're reading the Bible now.
Not yet. You're always jumping ahead, man. All right, so the ark goes in the most holy place of curtains. That brings us to Exodus 27, the altar of burnt offerings. Now, this is basically just plans for an elaborate barbecue pit and setup. They're all about.
So in my notes, it says this is his pitmaster grill.
Oh shit! Look at you. Wait here. I'm making the fingers between eyes things.
Yeah. So I'm telling you, he's having them build a house replenished with like a fucking, you know, he's gonna have like luau's. He's gonna have like pigs lowered into the ground. You know. What's that?
You said replenished. You meant like furnished. Like
I said what?
Replenished.
Well. That's one word. What was the sentence?
You're having them build a house that's replenished with.
Oh yeah. I guess I was looking for not resplendent. Nah, whatever.
Let's not make a big deal.
I told you, man. My brain fog is real.
That's fine. It's supposed to fog in this room all of a sudden for some reason.
So the altar of burnt offering is definitely like his grill, his pitmaster grill.
Yeah. Oh, and you have to design it with rings of gold on the side so you can put these long posts in it so you motherfuckers can carry it wherever you need to bring it. So it's like, you know, when they take like the 55-gallon drums and they cut them in half to make the grill and they weld them to a boat trailer. Like it's a modern day an old day version of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to be transportable, right? Because they're like going to be wandering the desert. So all this has to be carried everywhere. And by the way, that's heavy, right?
I'm thinking it's pretty heavy, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So everything is being built in gold.
Yeah.
And think about the altar of burnt offerings, right? So he's got them like offering like ox, right?
He does mention the altar is hollow, though.
But these are heavy animals, right? So you have to have something that's sturdy enough that you can put like the bodies of these heavy animals on top of. And then these people have to carry it from one place to another.
Oh, you don't think they butcher it and then... No, they probably butcher it on the altar, right?
I mean...
They touch its
No,
head
they don't butcher it on the altar. So
they don't need a big altar then. Based on the size of your grill...
So you're saying it's not that heavy? You think it's like it's transportable?
It's got it. They make a point to say that the altar is hollow.
Right.
And I'm getting to why that is coming up, man.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, and then we move on to
what about the court and its hangings?
The court and its hangings.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about the tapestries on the walls, right? The paintings, the pictures. That's what he's talking about, right?
Yeah.
Like decorate the court.
His court, right? The court where everyone's gonna hang out. Except
like,
no one's gonna be allowed to hang out, really.
So do you think Moses got in his car? He was going down the road, and he stopped like somewhere on Linden Boulevard, and some guy had a bunch of tapestries hanging on a fence, and one was like a big lion head, like tiger head, like one of them carpets, like wall carpets.
I think. All right, you know what I think now that I'm thinking about it? I think Stanley Kubrick went back in time, right? Because what they're describing is no, he's been dead for quite some time. They're describing, remember in 2001 when the astronaut goes through like that like trippy like black hole or whatever he goes through?
Yeah, pretty much the last scenes of the movie.
And then like he's like in that Renaissance style like room and there's paintings on the wall.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what's being described, like the court and it's like hangings, like build me like this like beautiful room with paintings on the walls.
I'm not saying it's not beautiful. I don't know if it really is beautiful like in the 2001 Space Odyssey, but all right.
Are you saying it's shit?
No, I'm not saying it's beautiful for the time and the materials.
All right. You're saying they didn't build beautiful shit back then.
You talking about my shoes?
And the materials being gold and fine linens and
he does mention that all the tapestries had to be of like the finest needlework.
Yeah.
And you got to put cherubims in them.
Yeah.
What's the obsession with the flying babies?
He's a pedophile. I'm not saying God's a pedophile, but he's a pedophile.
So he's talking about the elaborate, the pillar decorations, how you're going to wrap the pillars.
He talks about the oil for the lamp.
Yeah, next chapter. And it's oil of beaten olives. So you can make flammable oil out of olives?
You're asking me?
Yeah, I don't know. Any hydrocarbon experts want to like chime in on our social media? What do you say? Tap the thing below.
Just go to libelthebible.com.
Yeah. All right. So the oil for the lamp, bring on that, blah, blah, blah.
Then we get to Exodus 28.
Wait. So Aaron
you're still on Exodus 27.
I'm just the oil of the lamp.
All right.
Aaron and his sons will tend to the lamp from evening to morn, perpetual for generations. So they just got the job of like lamp keepers, like eternal flame people.
Yeah.
Like for generations.
Yeah.
All right. Now you can go to Exodus 28. Number 28.
There's nothing to say, man. He basically spends a chapter talking about how priests should dress. He's like, he goes, so it's broken down the vestments for the priesthood, right? So the vestments are like the robes. And he goes into detail talking about what should the robes of the priests look like, the ephod, the breastplate, and other like priestly vestments. I'm sorry, what? Because I was talking and then you like
shut up. You do it all the time. I don't
said something.
Yeah, the ephod is a
well
apron like.
I'll say, Scott, I'm sorry. Can I just say something? And I wait for you.
All right.
And I wait. And I wait for you to stop. By the way, when you do those stupid sounds,
I'm right on the mic.
That's the only time that I actually hear you on the mic.
So basically this podcast just sounds like you droning on and me going
That is a very accurate description of it. And it's good because I was wondering why is no one listening to our podcast, but you've just explained it.
Wait, what do you mean nobody's listening to us? Nobody?
I'm just kidding, man.
Oh.
I'm joking. It was like a self-effacing humor.
You know, sometimes it doesn't sound like you're joking. There's a lot of people around, you know?
You're a funny guy, Scott.
Yeah, so they're the lamp keepers forever. Oh, vestments for the priesthood. You went through that, right?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much it's like it's telling priests how they're supposed to dress, what like the material should be, all that.
All right, so based on the material, there's going to be metal involved.
There's
not like
a breastplate,
chainmail, but there's like a breastplate. Yeah. And it's going to be noisy. It's going to be like wind chimey when he walks. And that's so he's
Why?
heard.
What makes you say that? What was in there?
Because he mentions it.
Oh, okay.
He goes, it will be loud enough where people will hear him coming and going so that he may not die.
That's weird. What does that mean?
I don't know. More weird death. It's like, if you have a pretty wife, you're going to be put to death when you show up to Egypt. They don't go into many details about it.
So if I hear him coming, he won't die. Yeah, that's weird.
So maybe in the holiest of spots, if you try and cross over a certain threshold, you need to have ID, and if you don't, you get struck down because you don't belong there. So if you hear the it's like the cowbell.
There's an episode of Seinfeld where this man is working with Elaine at her office, and he's I forget, a sidler. Like, he's all quiet, and he winds up sneaking up on her. So, like, whenever, like, she's with her boss and she presents, like, a good idea, like, the sidler, like, sidles up to her, and the boss looks up, and he sees Elaine and the sidler, and they both get credit for good ideas. So Elaine starts getting all pissed off. So she gives him, like, Tic Tacs so that she can hear him coming, like, where whenever he's walking. So maybe God is saying, like, these people, or God, we should stop saying God and we should start saying these aliens. Well, we're not saying they're aliens, but they're aliens. Maybe he's like, all right, I need a priesthood, right? So to keep these people in line and to keep, like, my, whatever it is, my essence, my instructions, my dominance over these people. I need, like, a priesthood, but I don't want to be bothered by these priests. I don't want them just sneaking up on me.
Okay. All right. See where you're going with this.
So they need to be, like, loud enough that, like, I can hear them so I could, like, teleport back up to the ship when they're, like, coming because I don't want to deal with them.
I like where you're going, but
so when they're not around, I can have, like, some young lasses from the Israelites into my, like, tent, I can have, like, whatever burnt offerings are being, like, given to me.
I'm going to mold this a little more. I think you're on the right track. He needs this priesthood, and it's going to be Aaron as the head priest.
Yeah.
And all his sons are like the
So
clergy.
the head priest is the guy who lights the oil or makes sure, like, the eternal, like, the Olympic flame. Like, the head priest is just, like, he's the head priest.
Listen, I'm sure he delegated that to, like, his, like,
okay,
like his three-legged brother or something,
right.
Son. So I think what this is it's security. God is like Darth Vader without his helmet on.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he's in his regeneration thing. Yeah. And he can't just have anybody walking in on that. So if you walked into God's space behind the curtain, you just get smited. You're dead.
Right.
Because you can't see this stuff. Because you'll know it's a fraud. But when he hears the priest coming, it's clanky, so they shut off, like, the alarm system. So they're allowed in. So if you try and sneak in stealthily, you trip the fucking invisible laser and you get killed. But
so he needs the priests, and he can't afford for them to see what's really going on.
No, I think the priests can. I think Aaron kind of knows what's going on.
So you're saying, okay. So then why do they have to be loud? I'm not following.
Because it's a security system. They don't mind Aaron and the priest coming past a certain point.
But if they're with someone, if they're bringing someone in to see him,
shoot, that's a.
No, I'm trying to figure out what you're saying.
I'm saying that if you come in clankety, that's like your passcode. Like it shuts down the alarm system.
That's who's allowed.
But if me and you try to go in there, we're
understand.
quiet and stealthy, like trying to sneak a peek, we're dead.
I understand. So it's a sound sensitive, like right.
Yeah.
It deactivates, like, the lasers or whatever, right?
Yes. Thank you for getting it. So yeah, he makes turbans, tunics, sashes, and he says he always, when the offerings are made, Aaron has to take on the guilt himself incurred in the holy offerings.
Are you on the daily offerings already?
Are we?
I don't know. So we were doing Exodus 28.
No. We're still on the vestments of the priesthood.
Okay.
Like for some, like when Aaron's like takes on the guilt, I don't know what that means.
Oh, so in other words, it seems so. Maybe that's where the term scapegoat comes from. So like you use the offerings are I basically expel my transgressions onto this animal.
Right.
And then we kill the animal, thereby, absolving me of like whatever earthly fucking shit I was involved with. It's like my apology to God. And then it's sort of like confession. In Catholicism, you go to confession, you tell the priest, like, I masturbated 20 times this week. The priest says, say 10 Hail Marys and whatever. Here, there's no confession, but you have burnt offerings, so you're transferring your guilt onto these animals.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just written poorly. Maybe I just it sounded like Aaron was.
I don't know.
Isn't there a ceremony that goes on in like current Jewish religion where they do chickens, like they sacrifice chickens and they put their sins into the chickens? I thought I saw it on Eastern Parkway a couple times.
I gotta say this, man.
Okay.
It's weird. So I'm an atheist, and sometimes I will say I'm Jewish when I'm offended. So what you said,
when it's convenient.
What you said offends me. I'll tell you why.
Why does it offend you? I asked you if this is happening.
I'm going to tell you why it offends me.
Okay, tell me.
It offends me when, especially someone from New York, when they say Jewish people, when they're talking about like a fucking cultish sect of the Jewish religion,
Says
the
Rusty.
Hasidim.
Oh, that's only a Hasidim thing?
Yes. So they're Jews in the same way that like the Amish are Christian.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? Like 99% of Jewish people are like me. Like you wouldn't even know they're Jewish if you saw them walking down the street. So to say like, oh, don't Jewish people have like this ritual? I understand. Like you're not being offensive and you weren't trying to be offensive.
I'm just being ignorant. I'm ignorant.
I understand. So that's why I'm explaining to you, like, because I feel like people don't want to learn that either. Like I feel like sometimes people, because I've had conversations with people where they want to keep saying like the Hasidim, and they say Jews, like as if like the Hasidim and Jews are synonymous. You know what I'm saying?
All right, I got you. But listen, I want to tell everybody, don't get offended when people are asking questions. Because you want us to get past racism, sexism, religiousism, porcupineism, I don't know. But the moment someone asks a question, everybody gets all fucking offended. It's like, I can't believe you even asked that question. Be thankful I asked the question instead of acting on ignorance. I'm trying to... Yo, man, sorry you got offended, but so do they do that? Do they throw their sins into chickens?
No, I wanna stay on that. So number one, I said I got offended, but I didn't get antagonistic towards you, right?
No, but did you really get offended?
And well, that's the thing. So I explained to you, like it's an irrational. Like I get irrationally offended. It's a trigger. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like because the reason it's irrational is because I know where you're coming from. So like I know you're not trying to be, Jew
bashing,
whatever the word is,
anti-Semite.
I wasn't even going to go that far. Like offensive. Right. Like I knew the purpose of that wasn't to be offensive, even though I took offense to it. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't like I ain't attack you. I ain't overreact.
Do you want a hug?
So I think the real thing that you should say is you shouldn't say don't get offended. You should say if you do get offended, don't assume that someone has ill intent. Maybe take the time to have like a calm conversation with someone.
I'm wondering if like this is the
because I don't think it's for you to say what someone should or shouldn't take offense to.
No, I agree.
Especially right. I think if you get offended by someone, especially someone you know, don't immediately like take an antagonistic approach to solving that.
Is this a conversation you're having with yourself right now?
Why?
Because you got offended and you're like, don't immediately take it as they were being antagonistic and trying to be offensive. It's like you're talking to yourself, man. You're
I'm
therapizing
talking to
yourself.
the audience.
Oh.
Because the audience doesn't know how to act. They don't know how
All
to
right.
behave.
All right. So, all right. Well, are we clear to move on? I like that though. Like people, you have to allow people to ask questions, man. People are ignorant.
So that's a problem. That's a huge problem. Like I think a lot of issues stem from the fact that like people can't be honest anymore. You know what I mean?
No.
Like whatever it is, whether people are talking about like race or religion, people, if you say the wrong thing, like you're fucked. That's it.
Done.
Like your career, you know what I mean? Like everything is over and down the drain.
Right.
So no one is honest anymore, really honest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a huge problem. You know, I think there's got to be room for like ignorance, you know, because otherwise how do we learn? Like I should be allowed to express ignorance and have it taken in good faith that I'm just ignorant. Maybe like what I'm saying is ignorant, but not like being said, you know, to hurt somebody or, you know, in bad faith. I'm just being ignorant. So please like educate me. But we don't have time for that shit anymore. Now it's just like you're done. See you later.
Yeah.
So again, like I said, I think people should get offended. I think people have the right to get offended.
Absolutely, everybody has a right to get offended.
I just feel like it's how you handle that. You know, it's how you deal with being offended.
I had a coworker one time that was very offensive, and she had said to me, "I don't understand a lot of you guys." I was like, "What?" She goes, "You're so easily offended," and I had to tell her this is the reverse. I had to tell her, "Listen, don't mistake my being offended with you being offensive."
Right.
Like by saying a man, like, you're so easily offended. It sounds like a weakness in the person that got offended.
Right.
But I say also check your tone, check what you're saying, because she was saying crazy shit.
Right.
Which is not the case here. It's like the reverse.
Right.
So
Right.
Take every situation.
She
as
was
it is,
gaslighting you.
Yeah.
It's gaslighting.
Yeah.
It's like, why so sensitive?
Yeah. Right. Well, because you're being a bitch.
Right.
And sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, you're being an asshole. And
But with you are sometimes sensitive.
That's all right. You just got offended at something I didn't even mean to be offended.
I did get offended, but I didn't get worked up over it.
Well, it seems like you're worked up. Why don't you calm down, man? Man, relax.
All right, let's move on.
It's not your fault.
Fuck you, man.
Rusty, it's not your fault.
Fuck you, Scott. No, man.
All right, so where are we now?
Let's get to Exodus 29.
Yeah, let's get
the ordination of the priests.
Oh no, there's one more thing. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, okay.
About the vestments.
We're still on Exodus 28.
Also, Aaron and his sons will wear this shit when they go into the tent, or they will bring guilt and they will die. So he's again saying, basically, wear your freaking passcode, or you're gonna die. It's not because of guilt; it's because they're lasers.
Right.
So you better have the right shit on.
Right, the guilt. Right.
Yeah. And this is perpetual for their descendants.
Right. In perpetuity.
That's the last words in my notes. In perpetuity. All right, so now you can go on. Go ahead. Exodus 29.
Did you do Exodus 29? Did you read Exodus?
Yeah, there's my notes right there, motherfucker.
Because you said it's the last words in my notes.
No, I didn't say in perpetuity just now.
Oh.
I said perpetually.
I got you.
But in perpetuity.
All right.
Yeah.
So
and I understand the audience didn't understand what I was saying, but I actually held the book up and pointed at it. Oh, but you probably didn't realize. Okay, good.
How would I know that?
Listen, I'm not offended, man. It's all right.
So,
Exodus I'm offended at your ignorance.
Exodus 29 starts with the ordination of the priests. I got to tell you, I skipped over that because after
I took notes.
I'm sure you did. I know Scott likes to wade into the weeds on this.
All right, so the ordination of the priest. Basically, he breaks down the steps to consecrate his priesthood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about a bull and 2 rams and unleavened everything.
Unleavened.
What did I say?
Unleavened. No, I'm like emphasizing that, which is weird because
you're pharaohing me.
At first, like God was, it was understandable why unleavened. They had to get the fuck out of Egypt.
No
So
time.
he was like, make some fucking food, bread, like, no time for it to rise.
Yeah.
But, like, why still with the fucking unleavened?
Fuck, man. Just, like, plunder the Egyptians for all their raw materials, because he has a plan for it later. And he made up the whole thing about unleavened bread because you're on the run.
Right.
And you know what? I don't know how bread works, but could it leaven while they were running? Like, could it leaven in like their suitcases?
I mean, it could certainly leaven while they're waiting 40 days and 40 nights for Moses.
And they keep, I guess, referring to it as like, because that's how it was when you left Egypt. Like it's like a cop out. It's like bullshit.
Or
it's a fake. What do you call that? Like a fake, like a pretext, or I don't know what the hell the word I'm trying to think of.
So it's basically what you're saying about, like, if aliens read our mythos and just continue to perpetuate that, except no, because they're the ones that... Are they the ones that, like, started the beef with the Pharaoh and...
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yes.
So God
They
creates the earth. He kicks out Adam and Eve for being dipshits. And then he's like, fuck this project. I'm done with this project, and leaves. And now, like, after Adam and Eve get expelled, like, we're just here on our own until these fucking assholes show up and start fucking with everything.
Right. And they're allergic to yeast or whatever.
They're probably the ones that
rise.
flooded the planet, too. You think they flooded the planet with Noah? Like, how far back does this go?
I don't.
Like, at what point does
Dude,
God...
I think I have to sleep on that because, like, it just came to me tonight. So I think, like, wow, if this connects all that, when you're gonna come over next time, this whole room's gonna be covered with like sheets of paper with pins and strings and markings and pictures of weird people, and we're gonna solve this, man.
Right.
And tick marks.
I look
every
forward
5
to
days.
that. Yes,
Tick
and
marks everywhere.
red string.
Yeah, I already said string, man.
Did you? Was it red?
It was just string. It could be any
it's gotta
fucking
be red.
color you want.
No, it needs red. Red string.
So, so to consecrate them, you're going to bring Aaron and his sons into whatever. You're going to wash them. You're going to dress them.
Washing feet.
Yo,
it's a lot of feet washing.
Mentions unleavened, right? And you got to wash them. I bet you it's in a room with curtains, and there's guys in hazmat suits, stripped down. They fucking spray you down with chemicals. They wash you because they're being led into the inner sanctum of the fucking alien, like, biosphere.
Right.
And you can't be bringing that shit in here, man.
All this makes a tremendous amount of sense.
This is crazy. Pour oil on his head, like anointing oil.
Sure.
That's probably like an antibacterial agent.
Could be like that. Or it could be like, remember The Abyss when they had to, like... You never saw The Abyss? James Cameron, like, they were underwater, right? So they developed, like, this thing where people could breathe for longer, but they filled up, like, their dive suits with, like, some kind of liquid.
Okay.
And then eventually, like, you felt like you were drowning in this liquid, but eventually, like, it made you start breathing.
Once you got over the gag reflex.
Right. So maybe they're entering, like, a completely different atmosphere inside this tent. Maybe that's why the tent had to be constructed of gold and this and that, because, like, it's a self-contained, like, environment for the aliens, because who knows if they can breathe, like, our oxygen, they might be breathing something like else. Who knows? So you got to build this tent using these fucking specifications for us.
It's an airlock.
Because we're going to, it's an airlock. We're going to pump in, like, whatever. So before you get through into our inner chamber, like, you got, and the anointing oil is some kind of shit that, like, sort of like that thing from The Abyss where it allows them to breathe that air. I'm just saying all this makes is more realistic.
Dude, we're going to blow this thing up.
I think so. And I think, by the way, we're only 80 chapters into this book.
I just found out there's a Timothy.
Oh, there's a book of Timothy?
I think so. I saw somebody
Timmy.
All right, so now, dude, I'm blown away by this. I don't think I'm going to sleep tonight. And you got to kill another bull, throw blood around, throw blood at the base of the altar. You have to make sin offerings, burnt offerings, and elevation offerings. Like, you have to hold some shit above your head. You got to throw some on the ground. You got to burn some. Blah 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 blah. And then they leave. So they leave their burnt offerings, and they specify that the altar is hollow. Everything else is solid gold, this, that, and the other thing, except for the ark. It's hollow. So they leave their fucking burnt offerings on the altar. They leave. Door opens up. Food gets sucked in. Feeds the aliens.
And by the way,
wait, because if you're doing this every day on this fucking altar, like that's a lot of ash and a lot of shit.
so that's the part that you've missed out. The part that you're missing out is the part that you're talking about is titled the daily offerings.
Oh yeah, it's coming up. That's the last part. Yeah.
Right? So the daily offerings now, they're specifically requesting twice a day. I'm going to read this part. So Exodus 29, verse 38. Now, this is what you shall offer on the altar. 2 lambs a year old, regularly each day. 1 lamb you shall offer in the morning, and the other lamb you shall offer in the evening. And with the first lamb, 1/10 of a measure of choice flour mixed with 1/4 of a hint of beaten oil and 1/4 of a hint of wine for a drink offering. So that's like his order for the morning. You know what I mean?
Room service.
It's like someone order, right? They're like, and with the salad, can I get the dressing on the side? You know, it's like a very specific order. And the other lamb, it continues, you shall offer in the evening, and shall offer with it a grain offering and its drink offering, as in the morning, for a pleasing odor, an offering by fire to the Lord. So 2 times a day, how many goats do they have? And by the way, it's a 1-year-old goat or a lamb. 2 lambs a year old each day.
And they're picky about it.
Is what this is like requiring.
Specific. I don't like the older ones. The
And by
meat's
the
too
way,
tough.
don't forget, they're going to be wandering in the desert for 40 years.
When?
When what?
When are they going to be doing that?
It's coming up, Scott. They're going to be wandering for 40 years.
Next
or
time.
should we keep going around in circles? So this is insane, right? That twice a day for 40 years, they're going to have to be offering
these aliens found a spot to dude.
These are some ignorant motherfucking Israelis.
Whoa. Dude, I'm blown away. I mean, like...
And then he finishes off. God, quote unquote God, I will dwell among the Israelites, and I will be their God. And they shall know that I am the Lord their God, who brought them out of the land of Egypt, that I might dwell among them. I am the Lord their God.
The end.
I mean...
But how is he dwelling among them? He hasn't done that yet. He only dwells among a certain sect.
We've just talked about how he dwells among them. He built like a chamber for himself in that...
Oh, but we haven't actually seen him dwell among them yet, though.
No, he's saying I might, so that
I might.
I will dwell among the Israelites, and I will be their God, and they shall know, blah, blah, blah. So they have it. So again, these are instructions he's giving to Moses, right? Moses is on the mountain right now. God is telling him, these are all the things that I need. So nothing's been built yet, but the motive being everything we've discussed.
Dude, I don't know what to say. I think
Scott's in shock.
And
he's a bottle deep, so he's confused, drunk.
Half a bottle. I barely get drunk on half a bottle. I barely get a buzz anymore. Dude, I'm blown away.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, I understand for a million years this Bible's been written and it was only recent that we had technology.
For a million years,
whatever,
the
man.
Bible's been written?
Long effing time, man. Bible's been around for a long time.
Okay.
And it was read by people that were technologyless. I mean, until like the last 150 years, technology was.
Well, it depends how you define technology.
You know, come on, there was a big technological boom.
Right, there
in the
wasn't
last 150
electricity, right.
Right. So, I can understand how this gets deep rooted, but once you've seen like a sci-fi movie, or watched some Star Trek, I'm gonna say this:
Go
if
ahead.
this shit came out today,
Yeah.
there's no way there's a religion
Well,
based on it.
What's Occam's razor for this?
Yeah, but
Is it aliens? Is aliens the Occam's razor?
I think Occam's razor applies to the people in the past that read this also. Well,
No, I'm talking about what's
now?
Occam's. No, what's the Occam's razor for the person who wrote this?
I think it holds up that this is the simplest explanation of God, because there is no concept of a rocket, of technology, of anything. So
No,
if they
I
can
think
pull this stuff off, I think the simplest solution, the simplest answer to the people that wrote this was it was a God.
No, the motivation for them.
You didn't
writing
ask for
it.
motivation. You asked the Occam's razor. So motivation, power. It's all about power,
Well,
man.
no, I think that the Occam's razor is like a sci-fi writer. Not like jumping, like, so in other words.
I'm sorry. I thought you meant.
So we're talking about like the aliens, right? We're talking about like the alien angle. Like this is like aliens. So I'm saying that's highly possible. Well, highly. It's possible that it's aliens, right? It's not like out of the realm of the impossible. It's more possible than fucking a god. But if we're going to take it to like its most basic, simplest explanation, it's made up shit by like a guy who's like, you know, a science fiction writer.
Okay, so yes, I thought you meant if this was real events.
No.
The guy who wrote this, what's his Occam's razor? It would be this is a god.
No. If
That's
this
the
was
simplest explanation.
If this was real events, then this would be aliens. If this really happened,
I'm telling you,
then it's aliens for
I'm
sure.
telling you, these are real events, man. They're
Okay,
just
then
twisted throughout history.
if what were read really happened, then it's aliens.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's aliens.
Right. But none of this really happened. So it was written. No. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know if this was written, but I don't know, man. What do you think?
I think that we have about 10 chapters left in Exodus, and I look forward to seeing what else God has to say.
Oh yeah. By the way, the daily offerings twice a day is in perpetuity.
In perpetuity, forever.
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 Like as
and
long
ever.
as we're here, as long as the spaceship's docked here, you better feed us.
Yeah. You think the ship's still here?
The cloaking device has been improved. Can you climb Mount Sinai? Can you go there? Where is it?
Mount Sinai?
Expedition?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You want to go?
I don't-
It's in the Sinai Peninsula, I'd say.
All right, where all those forces are
I don't even know
hiding
if
out.
it's called Mount Sinai still. Maybe it's called something else.
I would find it really strange that like the most important mountain in the history of the world would be renamed.
Maybe it's like that place in
Mount McKinley.
Close Encounters.
Oh, Devil's Tower.
That's right.
You know about Mount McKinley? They renamed it
Is it
Denali.
still called Mount McKinley?
Ah, it's Mount Denali.
Yeah,
Well, it's just Denali.
Yeah, it's the tallest peak in North America.
I don't know what it is, but yeah, it sounds like right.
I think so.
And they got like a huge 4-wheel drive vehicle up there.
Did they?
That's why they call it a Denali, right? It's a Yukon Denali or whatever.
I didn't even think of the synergy of that.
All right, man. I'm ready to say peace.
Peace out.